How many Ghanaian women have tested? How many Ghanaian women know their status when it comes to HPV? And I know if you listen to Ultimate Health every Sunday, you know what HPV stands for. But we're going back on cervical cancer awareness. In the studio, I have Doris Ajay from the Greater Accra Regional Hospital. She's a DDNS with the Reproductive Health Unit. Next to her is Elizabeth Ajay, a senior midwife, also with the Reproductive Health Unit. And then I have Dr. Yao with the Yamachi Biotech. Yeah, a Ghanaian cancer research organization. They have a product self-administered Hpv test. He's also an adjunct research fellow with the West African Center for Cell Biology for Infectious Pathogens. Big brofo. And next to him also I have Dr. Lily Pemka. She's also with Yamachi. If you have any questions, concerns, and especially if you want to tell me whether you've tested or screened, you can join us on Facebook, YouTube. WhatsApp is 055 11 997. Serious talk. Almost 2,800 people, roughly about 3,000 yearly. And I'm talking about women. So almost 2,800 cases are detected yearly. And we lose about 1,700 by way of deaths, mortality, to one of the most treatable and preventable cancers we know. And unfortunately, it ranks very high. I think it's the second leading cancer. So that's why we're in the studio, very serious business. And ladies and gentlemen, you're most welcome to Ultimate Health.
Thank you.
And the statistics are serious. We're losing people, but I start by saying, and maybe Dr. Bediako, you can kick us off with that. One of the most highly prevalent, but highly treatable and preventable cancers, cervical cancer. Am I right?
Yes, I mean, if detected early enough, cervical cancer is treatable almost as an outpatient procedure.
Right.
So there are a number of ways to treat the precancerous lesions, and then women, they don't progress to cancer. But unfortunately, because there's a lack of screening, most women would present at more advanced stages, and that is where you'd see the deaths, potential deaths coming.
Okay, so screening should be non-negotiable. It shouldn't be something we should be argy-barging about, right?
No, it shouldn't be. It should be
Okay.
something that we do. I mean, screening, the word screening suggests that you do it from time to time to make,
Right.
As a preventative measure.
Okay.
So screening should be something, regardless of what the screen is for. We talk about prostate cancer, men should be screening.
All
Talk
right.
about cervical cancer, women should be screening. Breast cancer, women should be screening.
Okay.
I mean, there are a variety of screens that we should be doing regularly.
Right. Okay. We, as in women, right, but with support from men, right? And some of the risk factors we hit on 2 weeks ago, right? Multiple sexual partners. Some people say serial monogamy. Mubwa, right? Early onset of sexual activity, use of alcohol, and a few other things. So you should know your risk profile. But Doris, I know I've partnered with you at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, Ridge Hospital, right? Over the years, are women getting the message? Are they, responding and presenting themselves for testing or screening?
Yes, women are responding, but from the work we are doing, and let's say, the awareness creation over the years, the noise we are making, the outcome is not as we expect. Because some people would actually walk to the hospital and then go back because someone told them it's painful to do the test. So for me, what I see from the statistics we've had over last year, the number of women who should come, though they are going to other facilities, is not very, very too much encouraged.
All right, we're on Joy99.7 FM, Ultimate Health, the program, your ultimate guide to healthy living. We're talking about cervical cancer. Know your status, right? Years back, when we were doing some of the early work in HIV here, we had HIV positive, we had HIV negative, and then we had HIV ignorant. Right? And that's a gray area that doesn't help us. That's why I brought these health professionals into the studio. Know your status, especially and particularly because we know most cases, if not all cases of cervical cancer, are related or strongly associated with the HPV virus. Dr. Pemka, if you can bring us up to speed with this almost fully confirmed association between HPV and cervical cancer.
Okay. So HPV, the virus was detected way back in the 70s.
Right.
In almost all cervical cancer tumors.
Right.
So there's this strong association, and up to date it's known that over 90% are actually caused by HPV.
Right.
So the virus infects mostly epithelial cells in the urogenital area, sometimes in the mouth as well.
Okay.
And what it does is the infection it causes is usually cleared by most people.
Right.
But for a small percentage, just about 10%, it persists.
Okay.
When this virus persists in the cells, then it integrates into the cell's genome, and then it causes certain changes in the cells, and it affects a lot of genes that are involved in regulating, cell, division and things of that nature, and then it results in cancer.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So the human papilloma virus, HPV, right?
Yeah.
Sexually transmitted, right? And very, very common in its many variants. Yeah. Okay. But there are particular or specific variants that typically cause cervical cancer. So, Elizabeth, this is something that sometimes makes women uncomfortable. Firstly, when we say something is sexually transmitted, and then the fact that most of us are exposed to it, then they tend to think, well, so what's the big deal, right? We know there are specific types or strains of HPV. So do women understand and do men understand when we say most of us are exposed because we are sexually active and therefore we should be checking on a regular basis? Do they understand this linkage?
Well, I don't think most people understand because because it's sexually transmitted.
Right.
And then we have to educate them on how to prevent or protect themselves against the infections by using protective measures, the condom, or let me say, put it in the better way, if they can, abstinence.
Right. So when they practice safe sex.
Yes, practicing safe sex.
Okay.
So when
Joy99.7
abstinence is the
FM.
best when they are not married. But if they are married, then they can have sex and be faithful to their partners. And then the younger ones can use condoms.
Right.
As a safer sex method.
Okay.
To prevent the infections.
Okay. All right. So the reason I'm hitting on these things as a foundation is that we need to screen on a regular basis. Even if you screen before, you need to continue periodically, right? And we'll talk about those ranges as well. But you need to be checking. And the fact that you are sexually active doesn't make you a bad person, okay? So don't get all ishy about this, right? This is factual, and we need to deal with the facts in order to be able to pick up the cases. You also need to be able to assess your own personal risk profile, right? And these are the things that I think when we explain properly, people now will take up the test. But let's come back to the screening, all right? We know there are various screening methods or strategies, right? Typically, we know of the pap smear, right? And then we know of the visual inspection with acetic acid, or the VIA, right? With the ladies in Ridge, we'll go through that a bit so that people understand. Okay, so what are we doing when we do the VIA? How is it done, Doris?
VIA is a simple method of checking for precancerous lesions. So we use the ordinary vinegar that we use in the kitchen. And
Right.
I always do a follow-up to say that women should not go and start using vinegar on themselves.
Right.
Because women like putting things, into their vagina. Whatever they find, once I've said it here. So please, women, if you are listening to me, don't go and buy vinegar and start washing the vagina. We have a way of applying it to the cervix. So a small instrument is put into the vagina, and then this vinegar is used to wash the vagina at the cervix.
Actually, a diluted form.
Yes,
Right.
it's 3 to 5%
That's right.
of the acetic acid. So it's used in washing the cervix, and you wait for just 1 minute, and the result is given to you. It's either positive or negative.
Right.
Positive means there's a precancerous lesion there.
Okay.
And like Dr. Pemka said, it can resolve on its own, but some progress to become cancer.
Okay.
Looking at the risk factors that
Joy
are in there.
99.7
Okay.
So
FM.
once you don't know whose will regress and whose will progress, we offer the treatment we call cryotherapy
Okay.
to destroy the abnormal cells that have formed there.
Okay. If you just joined us, it's 20 minutes past the hour 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. We're talking about cervical cancer. Know your status. Do you know your status? And do you continue to check your status and also modify your sexual and other risk behaviors? That's why I've got my guests in the studio. Just quickly before I swing to what Yamachi does, right? When you have a positive screening test using the VIA, I know we'll talk about the PAP, it is not automatic that you have cancer. There are follow-up procedures that are done. Am I right? Doris?
It is positive or negative or, cancer.
Okay.
So before even you know the woman has cancer, she would give you some symptoms that she's going through.
Okay.
So once it is positive, the first thing we talk about is cryotherapy.
All right.
Of course, the other ones, colposcopy, the
Right.
lip, and the other things come in. But the simplest treatment we give or offer is a cryotherapy.
To freeze the cells.
Just freezing the cervix or the abnormal cells there to shed off the lesion
Okay.
that has formed there.
All right.
So it's a simple thing. It's not painful. It's not scary. But let me go back to something we said earlier. Women think when we talk about being sexually active, it means, every day you are having sex. No. Once you have had sex before,
It's not about frequency.
it's not about
Or-
the
or
frequency.
mileage.
Yeah. So it's about the fact that
Right.
you periodically have sex or you've had sex.
Okay. All right. Elizabeth, I mean, it sounds like in and out, back, right? You go in there, once the professionals are there, the tools are there, you can quickly be screened, right? And then you're out of there. Is that what it really is? How long does it take?
Yes, it's a walk-in procedure. When we walk in, we do counsel you before we start the procedure.
All right.
So the procedure is very short, simple and short, and not painful.
Okay.
So we educate you or counsel you on how it's going to take and how long it's going to take. Let's say it takes about a minute or two for the procedure to be done.
Okay.
But maybe for the woman to dress up and other things, in all, let's say 5 minutes
All right.
for you to be done with the procedure.
Okay. All right. So quick, easy, right? Very effective and reliable. It gives you your status. Will you get your results the same day using the VIA?
Yes, with the VIA, yes.
So you
Get your report
communicate
the same day.
with
So
the person on the same day?
the same day we communicate with the person,
Right. Okay.
whether it's positive or negative, and
Okay.
then the way forward,
Okay.
we communicate with clients.
Okay. So you're hearing that there's a counseling and, in fact, a history taking and counseling process. You go through a very quick process, which is effective and reliable. And then, depending on the outcome, you're counseled again, post-screening counseling. And then the next steps are discussed and negotiated with you so that you will follow up and be compliant. If you have any questions, concerns, 055 11 11 997, that's WhatsApp. 0302 216 541 is our telephone line. You can get in straight to the program, and we're live on Facebook and YouTube. We're talking about cervical cancer, knowing your status, and then following up. A lot of people do tests, but disclosure is another issue, right? We'll leave that for now, but knowing your status is a big, big, big pillar. Let me come to Yamachi, right? I like the name, and I know it's African, it's homegrown. I remember when Patrick Iwa started Ashesi. Those days I was dabbling on the morning show and Ashesi beginning, right? Yamachi, just quickly take us through that and then what you've done when it comes to HPV testing.
All right, so Yamachi is it's a Ghanaian based cancer research company.
Okay.
The name, has several meanings actually. So obviously Machi is good morning. So
Okay.
Yamachi is, good morning. But also has components of two other Ghanaian languages. So Yem in Frafra means knowledge.
Okay.
And Amachi in Ewe means medicine. So
Okay.
the idea was to try to find something that represented discovery in medicine, but had a uniquely Ghanaian twist to it. That was not necessarily just one south of Ghana or east
Okay.
of Ghana or north of Ghana.
Right.
But beyond the name, Yamachi is, we strive to be a company that is building knowledge about cancer among people of African descent.
Okay.
Cancer is a growing problem it's a growing problem everywhere in the world. It's especially growing in our part of the world. And yet, probably I would say 90 to 95% of the research that has been done on cancer to date has focused on Caucasian populations.
Right.
So, probably 80 to 90% of clinical trials that are done in cancer are done in people of Caucasian descent. Nearly all the genomic information, 78% of genomic data that is available is from Caucasian people.
Okay.
Only 2% is from people of African descent.
So Yamachi is focusing on blacks.
Yamachi is focusing on Africans.
Africans.
Yes.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Cancer among African people.
Okay.
So we're based in Accra, but the vision is really Pan-African. So
All
we're
right.
interested in understanding cancer across the continent.
Okay.
And using that knowledge to develop better ways to
Okay.
detect and treat cancer.
All right. And you've come out with a test for HPV, right? And particularly or specifically those that are strongly tied to cervical cancer. Right. Quickly, what is this test? Or should I give that to Dr. Pemka?
I can start and then
All right.
Dr. can continue.
Okay.
So it's the Sheba test. It's what we've done.
Sheba.
Sheba, the Queen of Sheba.
Okay.
So the idea is to play on a word and also to identify that it's a woman's test.
Okay.
It's an HPV test. We've all talked about HPV just the last few minutes about its link to cervical cancer.
Right.
HPV is typically tested for using a PCR test. So
Okay.
now we all experts on PCR thanks to COVID.
Right.
So it is a PCR test
Right.
that we offer.
Okay.
However, usually HPV tests involve samples being taken in the hospital.
Okay.
So you go in during the process of maybe getting a pap smear, they can take some of that sample and subject it to a PCR test to tell you whether or not the lady is infected with HPV.
Right.
But of course, we've heard that some women are quite hesitant about going into a clinic for a pap.
Right.
What the Sheba test does is it's still a PCR test, but the sample collection is done by the woman herself.
The woman collects the sample herself.
So she uses a brush called an Evelyn brush, which is a device that's been developed to allow self-sampling of a cervical sample.
Okay.
It's very convenient to use, and I guess I'll throw this one to Dr. Pimka since I obviously don't have a cervix. But basically, it's a brush that allows a woman to, in the discreet comfort of her home, take her own sample.
Right.
And then she would drop it off back at the pharmacy or the location where she bought it.
Okay.
So, and then it would be sent to us for a PCR test.
Okay.
And she get her results in 72
Right.
hours.
Great. 28 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. The program is Ultimate Health, your ultimate guide to healthy living. If it impacts on your health and well-being, we'll definitely talk about it and bring in the practitioners, the professionals to talk about it. You get to join us on Facebook and YouTube, and our WhatsApp as well is 055 11 11 997. And shortly I'll activate the phone line. So you've just been hearing from Dr. Yao Bediako. You hear him talking a lot about COVID-19. So when he starts to talk about PCR and testing, you get a bit worried. We're talking about HPV as it's related and associated with cervical cancer, a very common, in fact, the second leading cancer, if I'm right. All right. In Africa, right? And in Ghana, we're getting close to 2,800 above yearly, and we are losing 1,700 women averagely die each year. This is worrisome, and especially because it is highly treatable, highly preventable, right? So even if you have it, it can be treated. We'll do another program on those ones as well. But that's why we're interested in the different forms of screening and testing available to Ghanaian women here in Ghana. Okay, I know you do your acrylic nails, you do your bone straight, your bonding, your twist and all that, and you don't ask how much it costs. But as soon as we talk about testing that will protect you, protect and safeguard your reproductive health and well-being, right, and prevent a lot of the challenges and morbidity, then you start saying, how much is it? Nortey, I want a free one, and so on and so forth. Today, I'm not in that mood, all right? So that's why I brought these guests, so you can join us by WhatsApp and ask the questions. I'll read a couple of them. So, Dr. Lily Pemka, you are a human geneticist, right? And I heard you linking HPV and whether it will cause trouble or not to our genes and a few other things. But you're strongly linked to this Sheba test. So, Doc says it has an Evelyn brush. what are the men doing? We have a Veronica bucket. Now we have an Evelyn brush. Where is the Nortey or the Yao something? Anyway, so the woman takes the sample herself.
Yes.
And he mentioned you buy this test or you get the kit and you are taught, or it has the instructions?
So it has very clear, straightforward instructions in the package.
Right.
Very straightforward. And you can just use it. Just takes a minute or so to take the sample. Very easy to use, and then it's sent to us, and then we can test it and send you the results via email.
Okay.
Very easy to use.
When I hear easy, then I get worried. We know tests must be reliable, they must be valid, they must be certified, registered, and all that. Okay. The fact that it's already out there means you've gone through all those processes.
So,
the brush, the Evelyn brush, is approved as a medical device by the FDA.
Okay.
In fact, it was approved before we came on the scene.
All right.
The Evelyn brush is actually a device in use.
That's the tool. Yeah.
It's a tool in use around the world.
And the Sheba?
The Sheba test is, we've branded the testing service as Sheba.
Okay.
We are using a PCR test that
Okay.
is also approved by the FDA.
Okay.
So, as you said, tests have to be verified and have to be accurate.
Right.
On our side, the PCR testing is highly accurate.
Okay.
We've gone through all their processes that are required.
Okay.
And as I said, the tool itself has also been validated as
Okay.
a self-sampling tool.
So you brought them together
We've just what we've done
as a
is brought them
service
together
and a
as
product.
service.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right. So a woman buys this and can very easily, like you say, do the brush work.
Exactly.
Don't mind me.
So those people who've used the tampons, there's an applicator
Okay.
that you insert, and then insert your tampon. It's very
Okay.
easy to use.
All right.
That's used
See the way I'm looking
routinely.
at you.
Yeah.
So you do that, and then what? You deposit the brush
back into it has a receptacle. You fix it back in.
You fix it back in.
Put a package together and then send it to us.
Off you go.
Yes, and the sample is fine at room temperature for a couple of weeks, so it's going to be fine till it gets to us.
So you take this secure sample and you take it to a service point or one of your service points.
Yes.
Okay. Right. So a woman has to buy it.
Yes.
Okay. And my listeners are very into cost and things. So when I get there, I expect PCR costs, you see.
Yes.
Right. Let's see how much it costs and how it changes the profile in Ghana about accessibility. Right. And the same with VIA. I know roughly. Doris, last year we were doing VIA about how much?
We saw in total about 1,882 cases plus pap smear.
Right.
So VIA, we had about 700.
Right. Those are the numbers. How much
Yes.
does it cost to do a VIA?
VIA is 30 cedis.
30 cedis.
30.
Right.
Yes. Very
Okay.
cheap.
Doesn't even buy a whole tilapia.
No.
Right. Okay. Right.
Even wachi.
Wachi. Okay. 30 CDs and you are
30.
done.
Yes.
Okay. And can we come back to you? Just, we're educating people. It's not a comparison of sorts.
I know.
Yeah.
So we're still working on the pricing, but it's going to be around 300 cedis, which is actually less than most COVID tests.
Okay.
And this is going to include the sample, the Evelyn brush, as well as the PCR as well.
And
So
the-
it's quite cheap.
Right.
Yeah.
The 300 CDs or the proposed price.
Yeah.
Does it cover the processing, the testing, and all that,
Everything.
and your results?
Absolutely.
How do you get your results?
Via email.
Okay. So your details will be taken when you do it. Then you receive an email.
Yeah, so when you would buy the box, it would have an information form inside it together
Okay.
with the Evelyn brush. So
Okay.
once you've taken your sample, you would basically seal we'd give you a tamper-proof envelope
Okay.
to return it in.
Right.
And in that you'd place your form.
All right.
Where you would specify your contact details.
Right.
Now, of course, if someone didn't have access to email for some reason,
Right.
then they could put their phone number,
Phone and then
they
WhatsApp or
could-
something.
Exactly.
Okay.
We could
All right.
find a way to, and they could always also pick up
Okay.
a paper, a printout of their results
All
at
right.
our lab. If
Okay,
necessary.
great. 34 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. We're looking at expanding the frontiers of access when it comes to testing. We want more and more people, women, Ghanaian women, to be tested and therefore open or unlock the doors to prevention, management, whatever options are available. That's why these guests are in the studio. This one from Nicholas says, my wife and I went for the test. Okay. And it's very simple. You went with your wife. I love that, right? And I was there when they did it for her. This is Nicholas. All right, okay? Sometimes when I do PTA meetings and other things, I check couples that are present together. right? It's great. Thumbs up to you, Nicholas. Good afternoon, Nortey. Please ask for me. Does fingering... I know who will ask this. I know. I need deliverance for this chap. Ajiman Joseph in Tema. Shayu. Does fingering and inserting of other chemicals into the vagina also cause cervical cancer? He wants to know. We'll come back to causes in a bit, okay? Good afternoon, Nortey and your guest. What if the person hasn't got email? He's addressed that other platforms are available, and you can actually go back and pick up your results as well. So it still does expand access, which is something we are very interested in. So it sounds very simple. Is it being patronized by women, or is it still in a kind of test phase? I know when I come to Ridge and the ladies, I know that, I've been there pre-COVID, right? The women waiting, I was even worried. Okay, but with the Sheba, how's it doing?
So Sheba is a brand new product. So we are actually launching it on Wednesday, and it will be available as from the first week of February. So it's a brand new service that we are offering.
Okay.
Hpv testing has been available in Ghana for a while.
Right.
But it's largely, like I said, done through hospitals and clinics,
You go to a
sending
lab,
samples
right? Okay.
to a lab.
Okay.
So what we are trying to do is improve access by saying now you could go to your pharmacy and buy the Sheba test, and send your sample in. You don't need to go to the clinic. Of course, once you get the results, the recommendation is now you call your doctor and say, I've done the Sheba test.
Right.
This was my result, and then can you provide me guidance on the way?
Okay, Sheba. Woman, come. Sheba. Bra. Okay? You've got to go get it before you get the protection. Same way, you've got to go do your pap smear or your VIA to get access to the prevention or to know your status. If you're negative and free, then you protect that status and try to maintain it. Okay? If you are positive or there's some activity that is not okay, then you are right with the professionals who can now kickstart the processes that will get you care and management. Remember, I also emphasized it is highly treatable. The sad part of it is most women are coming, over 70% are coming when it is advanced. And I'll come to Doris and Elizabeth and the other two guests as well. Symptoms of undetected, sometimes even, undetected cervical cancer. I've read things like bleeding during, after intercourse, pain during, after intercourse, bleeding in between your periods, and so on and so forth. These are common things women complain about. It's scary, right? Let's talk a bit about the symptoms, Elizabeth, right? That we know may be indicative of cervical cancer.
So normally, cervical cancer, at the early stage, there are no signs.
Right.
But when it gets to advanced stage, we normally hear, or when they come in, they complain of having postcoital bleeding, postmenopausal bleeding, pain, waist pain, pain during sex and after sex.
Waist pain?
Yes, severe waist pain.
Okay.
But some of these symptoms, normally, it's not all of them that
it's not that specific. But you have to follow up.
Yes, you have to follow up.
Right.
And then do the screening to confirm whether you have cervical cancer or not.
Okay.
So it's similar to other infections, gynecological infections.
Right.
So normally, when you come with the complaints, we do the pap smear for you.
Right.
And then when the report comes in and tests positive,
right,
then we do the follow-up investigations.
Okay. All right. 39 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. Pain during sex, after sex, waist pains. What were the others?
Postcoital bleeding.
Right, after sex. Bleeding. Yes. Yeah, the bleeding, right?
Postmenopausal bleeding.
Okay. Postmenopausal.
Yes.
Right. So you're not supposed to be bleeding him now. You're bleeding, right? It could be related.
It could be related.
And it has to be followed up.
Followed up.
So for all of these, you can go to the reproductive health units at our various facilities and have them checked up. Okay. Right. Now, HPV is highly prevalent. Okay. We hear, when we're talking cervical cancer, we talk about the women. Men can also infect women with HPV. Okay. Do you have a male brush?
No, at the moment we don't.
Maybe you take my toothbrush and then you tell me.
But of course, HPV can be found. It's not just found in the genitalia. You can find HPV in the mouth
Right.
and other places.
Okay.
So, I mean, at some point, it probably would be a good, it may be something we consider. For now, because of the link with cervical cancer and the fact that when you find HPV in this, in the vaginal or cervical area, at least the high risk variants, that presents, an increased risk for developing cervical cancer. That is why we focus on that for now. But it is true that HPV is not just a female infection. And I think it's also important to make the point that 75 to 80% of adults will become exposed to HPV at some point in their life. So it is so prevalent and it is so contagious that, unlike other sexually transmitted diseases like HIV and others that you can sort of try to avoid, unless you are, even sometimes HPV can be transmitted by non-sexual contact, right?
Okay.
So I think it is important to make the case, like you said in the beginning, that we don't stigmatize HPV,
right?
Because nearly everybody, from the most pious pastor to has been exposed to HPV if they've been sexually
Like
active.
an angel like me.
Yeah, like
Absolutely.
me,
Thank
right? So I think it's very important that when we're asking women to test, if you test positive for HPV, it doesn't mean you have led an impure life. You could have had, maybe you've had sex only with your husband,
Okay.
and your husband may himself have only had sex with you, but at some point, one of you or both have been in contact with it.
Okay.
The idea of the gentleman who mentioned fingering. You can pass HPV by fingering. In fact, even condoms are not completely, unlike HIV that is very good at, condoms are very good at protecting against HIV. Condoms are not very good at protecting against HPV.
Okay.
It is that transmissible.
All
so,
right.
It is important that
Let's get that education
we get
out
education that is why the screening is so important.
Okay.
Because it's a bit like COVID. It's very hard to dodge.
Right.
So get screened regularly, know your status, and then if you find these abnormalities, then you can be treated.
You can go through
and
the
you go
processes.
home and you don't have to suffer the consequences of
Right.
cervical cancer.
So these services services sound like cervix, right? seem to be very important things that we should have across the country. I know we're having this program in the studios of Joy FM, Accra, right? What's the picture like when we go? I know you are Greater Accra Regional Hospital, but you have colleagues who are also into reproductive health at various facilities, maybe CHIPS compounds or whatever. How broad is our net? Okay, when it comes to tax, we want to broaden the net. But when it comes to these things, all right, and then I'll come to the two of you as well. How broadly accessible do you project the Hpv test to be, right? And if I'm in the village of Gomwa, something, can I do the Evelyn brush and then put it somewhere, all right? I know I'm asking you to think ahead, but when it comes to the reproductive health services, Doris and Elizabeth, the average woman across Ghana, are we doing that well?
We're not doing too well, and there's no national policy yet on cervical cancer treatment and testing devices.
Right.
I know some CHIPS compounds and other people have been trained elsewhere, and they are providing services where VIA alone
Right.
is simple to do in places like the
I know
villages.
midwives and things are
Yeah.
doing a lot of that.
But when it comes to pap smear, I think most gynecologists do pap smear in the hospitals. But
Okay.
VIA is not very, very common. I am Greater Accra Regional Hospital. La General, I think we trained, but La is no more. And I don't have the numbers
Okay.
or places as
Alright.
I sit now.
I'll let my listeners call and check, but my mom is a reluctantly retired midwife. But I remember GRMA, and there was a lot of training in VIA, and so it was quite widespread some years back. So I don't know whether we've gone backwards. I'm going to activate my phone line, 0302216541. 0302216541. You can talk to the doctors. Dr. Yao Bediako is the CEO of Yamachi, right, Biotech. And Dr. Lily Pemka is with him there. She's a human geneticist. Both of them, in fact, Dr. Yao Bediako is an adjunct fellow of the West African Center for Cell Biology for Infectious Pathogens. Painful, right? But that's where he works as well. And they've got this African Cancer Research outfit, which is the Yamachi, and they are rolling out the Sheba self-administered home test for HPV. Right? Doris Ajay and Elizabeth Ajay are all with the Ajay Hospital. No, with the Ridge Hospital. And you can ask the question 0302216541. Right, let me just see if I have a couple more. We've got some idea of costs. We've got some idea which says the uptake or the patronage needs to be encouraged, right? And we look at this. This one says, "Hi, Nortey, I'm 52 years. I don't menstruate every month, but when it comes, it is very heavy, and I sometimes change 2 pads in the night. Is there a cause to worry?" Grace, don't rely on Grace, okay? There are facilities and professionals, right? I know I do my best on this program, but we do not substitute trained professionals who can give you an evaluation of your situation, whether they are midwives, reproductive health nurses, gynecologists, and so on and so forth. So the first thing I'll say before I toss it to my guest is that make sure you've had yourself evaluated. There are many women who accept pain and many other things as part and parcel of their monthly flow, and they therefore do not present for evaluation or assessment. Doris, what would you say to Grace?
At 52 and she doesn't menstruate every month, is perimenopausal. She hasn't stopped menstruating. It can be due to a lot of issues, maybe premenopausal.
Okay.
It could be fibroids. It could be anything.
So she needs to have a check.
So she needs, like you said, evaluation. You can come to our hospital.
Right.
And we check everything for you.
Right.
We have doctors. If it's beyond us, we refer you.
Right. Okay. So get it checked, and thanks for sharing. You just educated somebody else with your contribution on our WhatsApp 055 11 11 997. Phone line is active 0302 216 541. Right. Going broader, Sheba. Right. Is it something we can see that will traverse regional, urban, peri-urban, rural?
Yes, I think that is our goal. As I said, we are just launching it now, but we are already in discussions with a number of distribution networks. The whole point of the test was you don't need to go to the hospital. So if you are far away from a hospital,
all right,
even if you are far away from a distribution, somebody can buy it, take it to you to use, and because it's stable for 2 weeks,
right,
it could be brought back. So obviously, we are hoping to expand our network. But even right now, as it is launched next week, if your aunt or your sister or somebody is in a village somewhere, you think, I want this person to do this test, the next time you visit them, take the test to them and then bring it back to Accra, and we'll get the results.
Okay.
So we hope to expand, but
Right.
even before we expand, the fact that it is, it has such a long shelf life means that individuals, we can, choose to expand the network
Right.
sort of as a consumer.
Okay.
And we'd welcome that.
Okay, you can even buy it as a birthday present, right?
Yes.
Valentine's Day is
Valentine's
coming,
Day, yes.
Okay, you can pay for a couple of women to get VIA or pap smear and so on and so forth. But women, please, you can pay for yourself. When I check your toenails, your shoes, your handbags, your phones, Charlie, you have resources. In fact, we're looking at handbag levy and other things very soon. But call me 0302 216 541. These are life-saving discussions, okay? And we want to make sure that we increase the numbers of women getting themselves screened. I know in some health insurance packages these things are covered, but I don't know about Ghana. Dede in Maryland, I know you'll come in very soon. I know you've got it in your package and you do it annually. Right. This is another thing that came up last week. How often should I be checking? If even I've been screened last year, when is the next time I need to check my HPV or do a VIA? Let me start with the Sheba crew.
So I think
how often should I do this?
The recommendation is 3 to 5 years as an interval. So if you've done it this year, you could wait 3 years and check. It also depends on your risk profile. So if you are, for instance, an HIV positive individual, then you should check more frequently because you have a higher risk of.
So if you are
immunocompromised,
which is not just HIV.
Yes. So if you're immunocompromised, you should check more frequently. And also, I think based on your age, it also changes.
Okay.
But in general, the general guidelines are 3-year intervals.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. And for the VIA, I have a caller. All right. Okay. Jennifer's on my line. Hello, Jennifer.
Hello, Nortey. Good afternoon.
Afternoon. Share with us.
Yeah. Last month, I had my menstruation. It came for some time, and then it stopped for a day, and then afterwards, I bled for about a month. So I went to the hospital. They asked me to do some scans, and I sent the results, and the doctor said there was nothing wrong. This month, I've menstruated about 10 days now. So I want to know what is happening, if I can be helped out. Thank you.
Okay, so she tells me, Jennifer says she's seen a doctor. She's still not too satisfied. She's still concerned. There's nothing preventing you from seeking another opinion or going to another facility. I don't know what my guests think.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. There's nothing that prevents you. It's your body, it's your health. It's the only body you have for life. All right. So you can discuss. Some doctors don't have a problem actually doing an appropriate referral to another facility if you want to do so. But you have that autonomy. You can go elsewhere and check. But I'm glad you are concerned about what is happening to your body rather than accepting it or complaining about costs and so on and so forth. 0302216541. Today is Ohineyiri's birthday. Gifted. Hey, Nana Danswa. Happy birthday. Oh, is it 52, 53? I think it's 52. Charlie, enjoy, but digitize the celebration, okay, so that we can get it on our platforms as well. Happy birthday, Gifty. Right. So if you have any questions on pap smear, VIA, cervical cancer itself, the home kit, which now we have a homegrown one, right, by Yamachi Biotech called Sheba, right? It allows you to do the sample taking yourself, package it nicely, neatly, and send it off for evaluation, and you will get your results through whichever medium or platform. And that is good, right? It's a PCR test, okay? And they're about to launch it. I bet we should grab a couple and go to town and do some stuff, right? But it's part of a launch, right? And it might... Oti is on my line from Tema. Oti? Hello, Oti?
Hello, Nortey.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Afternoon, official.
I think come between. Share with us.
I'm trying to be fine. Now, trying to ask about the pap smear and the stuff. If a lady have not given birth, can you have that? Like you are married for 10 years, there's no kid. Can you have that pap smear or the stuff like that? Can you block getting pregnancy?
Okay, right. I know where Oti is coming from. He's saying a woman who has not had a child. Could a pap smear be a problem? Can you still go for the test? I do believe you can. And then I think I hear him asking, because he asks this very often, Oti, we have to talk, infertility related to cervical cancer, okay? I sense something like that in there, but he was asking, can you still go for the test if you haven't had a child? Yes. You're married, but you haven't had a child. Obviously, you're sexually active.
Yes.
Yeah? Oh, say it to...
The main thing is she having had sex or she's having sex.
Right.
So
okay.
Once she's having sex, she can
all right.
do the test.
Okay.
You can still use the Sheba brush.
Right. Okay. Oti, so I hope that answers your question. But if it's to do with a linkage or association with infertility, that needs a whole different assessment. Okay. And let's be clear on that. 0302216541. So, Ridge, you are also launching your program for this year tomorrow.
Yes.
Hey, Charlie, I brought people in and they are launching and... All right. It means we'll get some things to direct our listeners to. Good afternoon, Nortey. Please ask your guests, can a prolonged candida, right, cause cervical cancer if not properly treated? I feel itches mostly everywhere when I have sex with my wife. Kofi and Kofredua, again, my song to you is go to a facility. All right? Don't treat it over radio. Okay? You are doing the thing and you are itching. All right? Okay, check it out. You could be itching for many other reasons. Yeah. Okay, so have it checked out. And thankfully, there are processes, professionals, and procedures that can identify and isolate whatever it is or whatever it could be. Right? So, I don't know. You want to say anything to Kofi?
Exactly what you said.
All right.
The two of them should go.
Sorry, I'm coming to hold that.
Yeah. And then this time, when the women are treated, the men are treated also.
Because you can be reinfected, right? So you go and then check. Sarah is on my line. Good afternoon, Sarah.
Hi, good afternoon.
Right, you're welcome. Share with us.
Thank you. Okay, so I want to make a quick inquiry. I know doctors have always been creating awareness on cervical cancer. Okay, but I was once diagnosed of cervical polyps. So I want to find out, is it something that can generate into cervical cancer in the long run?
Okay, you were diagnosed, and what happened after that diagnosis?
Actually, I had a minor surgery, and it was taken out.
Okay,
so
right. So it
the
has been
doctor
addressed.
asked me to go to the standard board to test to check if it's cancerous or not, but I couldn't do it.
Okay.
So I would just want to find out, is this something that I should worry about? Can it reoccur? Is it,
Okay.
Can it generate into cervical cancer in the long run?
Understood. Okay. So she's had the procedure, she had a test, and she had cervical polyps, right? They've been surgically removed and addressed, and then she's been asked probably to take the sample of what was removed for histology at Standards Authority, which she hasn't done. Now, that will determine whether the cells or the material that was removed was cancerous. Okay, so you haven't answered that question. Dr. Bediako, is there anything you want to add?
No, I mean, I think you've said it.
Right.
If she's been asked to take it for histology, then that would tell her whether it was cancer.
Right.
And then they may also do a molecular test to see whether or not it was HPV positive.
Okay. Right. So, Sarah, please, I don't know how you've kept the sample. I don't know how long ago, right? These things also, should I say, compromise tests and other things, right? But find out from your doctor if it's necessary to take another sample for you to have the histology done, right? They've taken it out, but other things need to be checked to make sure you are okay and to make sure you can answer the question you're talking about. 0302-216-541. Right. So we want women to test. You are launching tomorrow.
Yes.
And Yemachi, when are you launching?
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where? Lorry Park?
So, Alisa Hotel.
Alisa Hotel. You make it sound all very Charlie.
It's serious business.
Serious business. Okay.
And give women a chance to take charge of their health.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you are launching the product.
Yes.
Okay. So you don't need to go to the launch. You're not testing women there.
No. It's a launch. We are
Thank you.
introducing the product.
Right. And then after the launch, when do you envisage that this product will be available at outlets?
We're working very hard to have it available by the beginning of February. So,
Okay.
So that's in about a week.
All right.
So we should be able to let you know where you can alert your listeners to
Okay.
where they will be able to find
All
it.
right.
But we're talking to a number of pharmacies, a number of facilities.
All right.
It will also be available at some clinics. So we have a number of clinics who have
Okay.
expressed interest in carrying it. So you could go to the clinic and just pick up the box.
Are you
and
dodging
return it.
people like Doris and Coke? Like, will it be available at Greater Accra Regional Hospital?
We
or-
will, in fact, we do. Yamachi already has some relationships with Greater Accra Regional Hospital for a number of other work
I
that we are
insist.
doing, COVID work that we are doing.
One of
So
the
we
problems
certainly
and
will.
challenges I face having done this advocacy program and education program for what? I don't know, 17, 18, I don't know how many years, is that the collaboration, right? Building of bridges, right? So we at Joy FM, Abeku, Ultimate Health, we are interested. How can we leverage and make sure that, okay, those who can afford Yamachi or, Shiba, right? And those who want to do VI and whatever at whatever facility, we can be a bridge.
Yeah.
Right, and get the numbers. So maybe let's start having that talk.
No,
Okay,
definitely.
yeah.
It's why we are here
Yeah,
today.
we can do a Yamachi tent, and then you come and do the Evelyn stuff, and then they'll collect all one day. And like the electoral commissioner, we shall declare and gazette results. All right, but I'm joking with it. But this is serious because there are people listening to us who have not tested and still will not test. Right, but they'll spend money on all sorts of other things, and the men should support the women to make sure that they test, right? Because these things are highly prevalent. All right. So let me give you each a parting word of advice to our women. We titled today "Know Your Status," right? Some of them have gone part of the process and they've chilled because right. But what are your messages, parting messages for these women, very quickly? Yeah.
I think mine would be, beyond know your status, it's take charge. Like Dr. Pemka said,
Okay.
the goal behind Sheba and why we named it Sheba, who, is that we want women to take control, take charge of their own health.
So take charge.
You don't need your husband's permission. You don't need your father's permission. You
Okay.
don't need your mother's or your sister's permission.
It's your body.
Your health. It's your cervix. So take charge.
Okay. Lily.
Yes. So you kept mentioning that cervical cancer is number 2 in Africa.
Okay.
If you look at the global statistics, it's actually 8.
Okay.
Why? Because 85% of the cases are in low and middle to low income countries, and it's partly due to the lack of accessibility. This is an unprecedented opportunity for us to take charge of our own health and then self-sample. The WHO mentioned, they have a mandate to significantly reduce cervical cancer.
So
one of them
take
is
charge.
self-sampling.
So
you need to get a brush and know your status.
Okay.
People in far-flung areas who also have access, who don't have access to the hospitals, can have this brush, and then we can have the test ready.
All right. One of you from Ridge Hospital. Liz.
I also advise all women to screen for cervical cancer because when detected early, can be treated.
Okay.
And it's also preventable.
All right. Great. Don't fear the smear. I've seen it on many websites. But get yourself tested. Know your status. Protect yourself and your partner. Avoid multiple partners, unsafe sex, and all of those things, right? We'll be back on cervical cancer next week where we'll look at the vaccine and we'll look at treatment of those who have been detected. Many times, Dr. Bediaku, Dr. Pemka, Doris J, and Elizabeth J. Stick and stay on Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Nortey by Nature, produced by Abe Kusa Kofi. I'm out. Stick and stay.